Hey guys, welcome back to some more AFK Arena. If you're newer to the game, this is the guide for you. So we're going to be breaking it down when it comes to the Elder Tree. Now, of course, Elder Tree has been out for years, but overall, they have never changed exactly how to build this. So a lot of the older guides that you see over on Reddit and Discord still really are prevalent. Now, you'll notice here, we have our Elder Tree maxed out in its entirety. And the Elder Tree with the Twisted Essence is actually very, very important. Number one, it does add new skills and abilities based on the level. But number two, it does add an incredible amount of stats and also a multiplication factor that you see right over on the right side with HP, attack, defense. Then a secondary stat with haste and dodge right down here, making it imperative that you are building this out in a certain way. As we continue to get more heroes into AFK Arena, again, this makes a big difference because you are leveling up and you are building the entire classification of a hero, whether they're a support, whether they're a mage, whether they're a ranger, you are building them up in their entirety. Now, to note, you can never go more than 10 levels over the trunk of the Elder Tree itself. So you can see the Elder Tree trunk is 232. All of my levels are 222 because it has to be within that 10 levels. Now you level up the Elder Tree by actually building out heroes. So if you're newer again to AFK Arena, that is exactly how you do it. So I want to hop over, I want to bring the guide up, I want to run through there, show you exactly how to build this. So let's take a look at it. All right, guys, so here it is from AFK Analytica. Big shout out to In Season and Ensign. I don't even know if Ensign actually plays AFK Arena, but this was the Elder Tree guide that came out a long time ago. I think it's been like 2 or 3 years at this point. But looking in here, you can see that there are a multiple facets. Right here is all 5 of the classifications. So we do have our warriors, we have our tanks, we have all the way through to the support heroes that we have. It also shows the secondary stats. Now, one thing to note is when it comes to the warriors, their secondary stat is Life Leech. Life Leech in this game still kind of sucks. It's a really not a very good stat to have. But you'll also notice down here on the support side that we do have haste. Now, that is the best by far stat that we still do have in AFK Arena. So looking at this, and you'll notice on the left-hand side, this is how much Twisted Essence it takes to level it up. So through the years and through the levels, you will get a crazy amount of Twisted Essence. And it also shows you kind of based on the level, exactly what stats you're getting within that level. So as you start going through here and getting all the way down here to 107, as you can see, there are also some other numbers right here, the 5, 6, and 7s. This is when, again, you're kind of getting those secondary stats in here, which we'll look at in just a minute. But you'll notice that this stops at 107. At 107, that is the cap, or that is the end of the secondary stats that you do see. That is the reason why it's important, again, when you're building out these specific classifications, there is a certain way to do it to have more of an effect. And of course, when you look when this guide was released, in conjunction to what we have today, honestly, the stats or the numbers themselves are the same, but we've seen a lot more heroes, even when it comes to the support heroes, with Lucilla, Liberta, a lot of other heroes that are doing incredibly well with the support. Really looking at the classification of what this used to be, players would always come in here and they would build out the Ranger tree, and the Ranger tree in its entirety, and that's exactly where they would stay, was just right there with the Ranger tree. As of now, it's really branched out a lot more into all the different ones, especially looking at the tanking classification, thinking of the Awakened version of Shamira and a couple other ones. And then, of course, the Awakened version of Athalia, who is a warrior, does make a very big difference. So as you can see, this is going to be kind of a work in progress forever, but you do want to get to this 107 point with all the trees before you start building them up a lot higher. Now you can see, guys, they put a crazy amount of time and effort in here, but you'll notice a 1, 2, and 3, depending, going all the way to those level 9 abilities where they do cap right there at 135, which again is right down here, the 7, that we're getting ability level 7. So I believe maybe 135, the ability upgrade levels do get much, much higher. And of course, the stats that you do get for those, even looking at HP, you can see just looking at this graph that, of course, the scaling of our tanks have a lot more HP, where, of course, looking at the purple of the mages, do not possess enough HP. And this is the percentage that they gain as they're going through here. I know it's a little bit fuzzy because we did zoom in, but you can see the exact same, where it might be a lot more beneficial for the tank for the defense rating they get versus other classifications on the stats they get. Over on the left, you can see we have the Might, Fortitude, Sorcery, sorcery, celerity, and the substance, and it shows you exactly what they get at different levels based on where they are here and where the ability is built. So looking at the ability, even looking at A1, A2, A3, you can see 5, 15, and 25. Those are the levels where you get the abilities. And of course, the abilities do come at different points. Like it's not the 25 for the actual secondary ability, but 25 is when you get the actual abilities, which I can hop over the Elder Tree and kind of show you what we're talking about. There are the stats, which of course are raised by different levels. There's different kind of breakpoints in there, but there's also a secondary, 3 secondary abilities on the bottom that they do get with the classifications. So even coming down here and looking at the important part, which is of course, where are the breakpoints for the heroes that we have in here. Let's swap over and I'll show you the breakpoints, where to build these heroes out to. All right, so this is probably the most important graphic that we do have here. And again, big shout out to InSeason and AFK Analytica. Elder Tree benchmarks, this is where you get the most bang for your buck. This is where the secondary stats do come into play. This is, of course, is the benchmark of where you want to build. And you'll notice there are a couple different places right here, getting them all eventually to about that 107 mark. But you'll notice building out here, even looking, for instance, our support, 27, 27, 27. So moving them all to 27 and then to 47, then going to 62s right here, 67, 62, and 52. Again, kind of a different way to build it. But if you think functionality wise, when you start looking at this big picture, there is a very logical reason why it is built this way. And it is because of the secondary stats that we do have within here. And it does make a really big difference when you're building these out. And you'll notice once you get to the 107, 107, there's a 110, 155. So the Ranger tree, much, much higher. And then it's just max, which you'll get to the max. What I did is once I got past that 107 mark, even looking at the 110. So let's say when you get to 110, 115, then you're going to want to focus on pretty much whatever tree you're really focused on. Because when you're leveling it up much further than that, it doesn't have quite the effect that we've seen. So even looking here at kind of the secondary stats, like we were talking about earlier, is I focus on the damage dealers and the damage trees. So what I did building this out, and again, thinking of the way that the graphic, that guide was actually laid out, is building up specifically the heroes that you have and building up the damage dealers. When you think of the best in slot damage dealers, when you think of the heroes that really benefit the most when it comes to these builds, even looking at, right there, the draconic version of Gwen, there are not a crazy amount of Rangers. Even right there, we have Iran and we have Leica, but there's not a crazy amount of Rangers that have a lot of utility anymore. We're seeing a lot more when it comes to the warrior classification and a lot with the awakened version of Athalia. But you do want to build it out, and I really focus and I level up these trees evenly to distribute exactly where they're being built. So of course, looking in here where if we're focusing on building, let's say the warrior tree, and of course the ranger tree or the mage tree, I raise them up kind of together. That way one of the trees are not falling far behind. And honestly, it's to the point in AFK Arena where there are so many heroes when you start looking even like the tank classification, that there's so many heroes that are being used in so many different ways. Even when you look out here, using Naruko, using Vathiel, using Lucius and Shimira, there are so many different heroes that are used in classifications that you do want to build them up to those breakpoints or those benchmarks when it comes to building out this Elder Tree in its entirety. And it really does make a big, big difference when you're building this out, guys, because again, all of the stats you're gaining in here are given to all of the heroes of that classification, making this a real game changer. So, all right, guys, I'm going to put the link down below so you can check out that guide as well. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. And as always, thank you guys for watching.